Hi, writers. Yesterday, you chose a seed idea for your personal narrative, and you began a flash draft, getting your story bit by bit on a piece of paper from beginning to end. Today, I want to teach you that one thing that personal narrative writers do to strengthen their writing is to add an element of setting to make their story clearer for their reader. Let me show you what I mean. When we add the setting to strengthen a narrative, we could add when something happened. That might be an actual date, like 1998. It could just be on Monday, or it could be something like last week. We also, when we think about setting, could add where something happens. Maybe it was at the grocery store. Could have been when you were returning a book at the library, or even playing basketball at the playground. I would guess that your flash draft probably already has where your story took place. Today, writers, we're going to think about adding weather, because if it's sunny outside or it's raining outside, that can have an impact on what's happening in your narrative. Let's look back at the narrative I was writing yesterday. Remember, it was the story about when I went skiing with Mr. Jackson. I'm just going to read this first paragraph to you to refresh your memory. "Make a left when you get off the lift," Scott shouted through his face mask. As I turned, I watched as he began to go down the double black diamond. He got just far enough that there was no turning back. I realized immediately that I had to follow. I got to the edge. It dropped straight down. "Just make wide turns. You'll be fine," Scott encouraged as he turned and started down the steep hill. Now, when I think about what made this situation a little bit nerve-wracking for me, it wasn't just the double black diamond, but it was also the weather that day. And I think that it was snowing really heavy. You know that kind of snow where you really can't see in front of you? That was the kind of day that it was. So writers, I think what I could add to my narrative would be the snow fell heavily, making it almost impossible to see. So I'm setting you up to know that I already couldn't see, and now Mr. Jackson was taking this turn down this double black diamond, which was really a tricky hill. As I turned, I watched as he began to go down the double black diamond. He got just far enough that there was no turning back. I realized immediately that I had to follow. I got to the edge. It dropped straight down. That snow really made it tricky as I was looking down also, because as I was looking through the snow, I was seeing how steep it was, and it really added to my anxiety. So maybe I could say, I got to the edge. I'm going to use a caret, and I'm going to say, through the veil of snow, I could see that it dropped straight down. So I'm bringing back that whole idea of that snow and how it was making me so nervous. Writers, I'm going to show you the next paragraph, and I want you to think about how could I add in something about the weather here that would make this a little bit more clear for you to understand what was happening. It was a sheet of ice. My attempt at a right turn turned into me sliding halfway down the mountain uncontrollably. I stopped, took a deep breath, looked for a safe path, and continued down. Can you think for a minute about where I might add something about the weather to make this piece more clear for you? I'm looking at this word ice. How did that ice get there? Was there some element of the weather that made that happen? I think, if I recall correctly, the night before, there was a lot of rain, and this day it was very cold. So maybe I would say last night's rainstorm and the extremely cold day ensured that the mountain was a sheet of ice. That's how well that ice got there. And that's what helped me to go uncontrollably down the hill. So let me stop sharing my writing. So writers, did you see that I used some of the weather to make my writing more clear and to paint a clearer picture for you of what was happening that day? That's exactly what you can do as a writer. Can you find a place in your writing where you can put your finger, where you can add some weather elements that might help our readers understand what you're talking about? Look for that place. Put your finger there. When you have that place where you're going to add elements of weather, you may get started with your writing. Off you go.